Australia doesn't have. There's no such thing as free speech in Australia. Canada too. There's no such thing. There's no constitutional rights to that kind of stuff.
You know, sometimes when you see things, you're like, what on earth? So this was the latest, guys. Australia's unprecedented surveillance bill was rushed through Parliament in a day. And in this, there's
God,
people
man,
protesting, of course.
that sounds really familiar.
Look at this. Stop watching. 1984 wasn't a how-to guide. Wow. And the stuff that these folks are going to face now, it's crazy. So let me read a couple of the lines here. There's surveillance legislature amendment. It's got numbers there. It gives the Australian Federal Police and the Australian Criminal Intelligence Commission 3 new powers. Data disruption warrant. So it gives the police the ability to disrupt data by modifying, copying, or adding or deleting it. I don't even understand where that would begin and end. That sounds like a complete open-ended thing for them to do anything they want with anybody's data. That, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Without a
network activity warrant. So basically it's a warrant to collect intelligence from devices and networks that are likely to be used by those subject to the warrant. And an account takeover warrant to allow the police to take control of an online account, i.e., or example, social media for the purposes of gathering information for their investigation. The thing that's weird to me is I went and looked at this. I'm not sure I understand who they're investigating. What do they investigate? There's so little that's defined well. I couldn't really get my head around who it is they think needs to be investigated and tracked. Bob, what do you got?
I think the excuse that they're making is like the child exploitation and those kind of type crimes. But I mean, obviously, like you said, it's so open ended that it's the Patriot Act on steroids in a way.
Yeah, I had
it's really bad, and I thought Alex would appreciate that. 24 hours for that bill to get through, and that brings me back to 2001 when the Patriot Act came up. I remember Ron Paul talking about, we voted on it in 15 minutes. Nobody had a chance to read the bill. I remember that like it was yesterday. That was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So
so it's if you get something that quick, I don't care what it says, you should just vote no.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yep.
Yeah, this was another article that was on it, and it was kind of an interesting sort of counterpoints and more like almost like post as questions. But basically, the first one is, does this mean that anyone assisting with government hacking is protected from civil liability? I mean, how could they not be, right? And if you refuse, you could face up to 10 years in jail, according to the details. Another one says, basically, this is a thing that they can use to basically unmask anonymous technology, talking about online encryption and things like that, discords, things of that nature. So I don't know if that's their way of being able to go into things where, people have, private conversations, private chat, those kinds of things. We know that the American elite was very angry when they heard about, what was it called? There was one called Discord, but there's another one they were called, everybody was racing to, the uber wealthy was racing to. And people were mad that was a thing. Okay, that was my Australia, like the crazy Patriot Act part.
It was funny. I was
sequel.
I actually found that story while I was doing a story this morning on Australia, and if you're not familiar with the geography of Australia, there's 7 states, and New South Wales is one of them. That's the most populous. That's where Sydney and some of the big cities are, and they had like 1,000 cases yesterday or whatever of COVID. And what happened was there was also a coinciding report of 150 anti-lockdown protesters getting arrested yesterday. So
yeah, crazy times.
It's just amazing. What my vision of Australia was before and what it's turned into, right? Australia was like, oh, this is this place you can get away from all the nonsense in the States and go hang,
Mm-hmm.
The nonsense is worse. So.
Yeah, I think someone echoed your comment from that last time we talked about that. You made a very similar statement. Someone commented on that video, like, yeah, I can't believe this, Bob. You're absolutely right about Australia. I never viewed them in this manner or whatever. I heard another streamer talking about, well, I guess it's what you get whenever you've given up your guns. I'm like, ooh,
yeah. Well, that's the fact
too. It hits to the core as well, right?
And you know, and that's, and I think that's part.
It's a shame that that's
another
true.
Part
it is true.
Another part of the issue is Australia doesn't have our history, and though we're failing poorly, you know, really bad too. But Australia doesn't have. There's no such thing as free speech in Australia. Canada too. There's no such thing. There's no constitutional rights to that kind of stuff. So it's just, it's just that much easier for them to get away with stuff like that.
And they're building the framework to be able to do these things that are absolutely crazy. So I want to share this with you. I don't know if you guys have seen this. This actually just broke today. The story from Illinois. This lady, she has been arrested. Oh, come on. Get this ad out of here. I don't need you. Arrested for using a fake vaccine card traveling to Hawaii. You get this? Like, how is a vaccine card somehow relevant enough that would warrant criminal charges of any kind? So anyway, basically she got busted because she put Moderna wrong. M-O-D, she wrote M-A-D, Moderna, going in and out of Hawaii or whatever.
But that's actually trending on Twitter now.
Yeah, this is nuts. She was they were able to find her at a hotel because of a hotel reservation. There she is. And here's her fake card. But you're getting arrested for having a fake vaccine record card. Alex, what on earth? I don't understand. How is that even an official enough document to warrant an arrest? Like, it was just so random. And what Bob just said about, you know, there's like this unending sort of creation of rules and regulations, like, oh, we can just get away with this.
Yeah, well, I will not confirm nor deny that I have a vaccine card. So it's just silly all day long. I actually have one that says, in case of emergency, break glass. So
yes. Yep.
I just, here's the thing, and here's where I'm at on this. This is a completely contrived government problem because of these mandates. Like, if the mandate is the problem, there's a lot of, you can be pro-vaccination and anti-mandate. You can be both. You don't have to force everybody to do it. And the fact is that this woman just wanted to go on vacation to Hawaii. She didn't want to go and get she didn't want to go and get the shot. So she faked the vaccine card, and now we're going to bust her for it. I equate this to almost the same way as like Eric Gardner selling loose cigarettes in New York. Is that ultimately now don't get me wrong, for him the punishment was death. For her, she's going to do some jail time. Again, it's a different situation entirely, but it's the same principle of government creating a problem and then busting people when they don't want to comply.
Yeah, what happens if they come out with someone that gets busted in this manner or whatever, because then they have a health condition and cannot get the vaccine, but it's a requirement. So we're creating this class system now where you have, you know, show your papers, right? Show your papers if you want to fly. Show your papers if you want to go to a ball game. But what point does it get to where you have this, you know, somebody said something and I said, well, yeah, but 1% of the population is like 3 million people. So 1% is millions of people that could be unable. I don't even know the stats. Maybe Bob knows, you know, the stats. The approximate population of people that can't get the poke.
Oh, it's pretty minuscule, but yeah, I mean, people exist.
Yeah, and I think Alex is so right about this whole. You make up a law and then suddenly you're just randomly grabbing people who either you are trying to circumvent it or just don't care, or they're not gonna comply.
Well, what you're doing is you're creating criminals out of people who aren't criminals.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw today that up in Ontario, Canada, they just passed a law starting later this month that you have to produce a vaccine certificate and a photo ID to go into bars, restaurants, and all these things right now. And they did have a provision, though, for medical exemptions, and they say that the person that has a medical exemption can get in with a doctor's note until The exemptions can be integrated as part of a digital vaccine certificate. So we see where that's heading. And I wait for the steam to come out of Alex's ears.
Oh, I'm waiting for the next level. Will be, all right, well, you know what? And we know it's a hassle for you to have this card to get updated when you have to have your booster shots and all that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and give you this barcode, that you can just have. It's microchip if you want. We can put this microchip. So then we'll just give you a little bloop bloop, and you get your shot, and you'll be up to date. You won't have to carry around a card and all that. You don't even need a ticket. You can go to the game and just bloop bloop bloop.
Yeah. We live in a sad world right now where this kind of authoritarianism by a certain percentage of the population is championed. It is not like they will look at you of wanting to be free as selfish, and that you almost get attacked for saying, I don't think that we should have mandates. And they're like, well, you're just selfish. You should just get it. I wish we didn't live in this world that had this kind of authoritarian psychopaths, but they're out there, and there's way more of them than you think there are. And most of them are they're okay with it. They look at it as it's us versus them. And if you're the unvaccinated, then you're somehow evil. When, and again, this is a meme that's going around, so I hate to phrase it. The side that was on the mandatory vaccination side the mandate side has never been the good guys. They're not the good guys. They weren't then. They aren't now. I don't care. You can be benevolent all you want to, but if you want to use force to get your way, then that's a problem. It's just a problem. And again, and the other thing is, I wish that we had a medical community that would be honest. And by being honest, the first thing that they should say is, this is a virus. It's going to work itself through the population. Pretty much everyone's going to get it. So here's what you can do to mitigate it. And then if you get it, here's what you can do in order to be helpful. And to just provide the information, but you make up your own mind. They made up they have a vaccine. It seems to be doing pretty well. It seems like all of the if you do get it with the vaccine, that your condition, your symptoms will be a lot mild. And just give everybody the information and let them go on their way. And then if businesses want to make mandates, again, I don't like mandates, but I don't have a visceral reaction when a business makes a mandate. I can just choose not to do business with them.
That's right.
But if you're going to make it from the government edict on down, then that law can be punishable by death. And that if we looked at every law as it's punishable by death, I think that there'd be a different set of circumstances, at least with some people, or it would at least expose the authoritarian psychopaths for what they are. Because there are some people that say, yeah, we should kill that person if they don't get the vaccine. Like, they deserve to die. Like, there are some people that
there's been some crazy stuff showing up. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I have a couple things to hit with here. And one is, I have been shocked by people who are super smart and yet behave, and we talked about this term before, an NPC. They're a non-player character. They're not thinking for themselves. They are just robots on this topic. They're going along to get along. There's no, and there's also so that's put there with the authoritarian side, which are unable to do what Alex just said. They cannot live and let live, right? So I think all of us and all of our libertarian cores and all of that in our bones is, look, I don't care as much about what you do rather than how it could impact someone else. That's all I really care about. I care about, are you infringing on someone else, hurting someone else, stealing, hurting, pain, whatever. Anyone define it. But on the other side of that, when they don't agree with you, they're not willing to let you be. And that's the difference. That's the divide. The divide is, I need to make you comply with what I think is right. And that's a massive population. And they're followed by a whole bunch of people, even smart people, that will just go along. And I connected dots today, because the topic is a little close to home today. It says, here's the problem. Federal government says, I need you to mandate X. I can't do that constitutionally, but I'm urging all of you private companies to do that. Okay. Private companies go, well, I want to be good with the government, maybe even get government contracts. So I will mandate my employees to do that. And in turn, people that do business with those companies might have to have mandates, and therefore it gets down to the employee level. So ipso facto, I, the employee, may be mandated to do what the federal government is saying to do for a vaccine. So I turn this on its head with the person I was talking to. He says, okay, just think about all that. Forget about the quality of the vaccine. I'm asking you, if President Trump said, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, I need you guys to mandate this vaccine. One did, one didn't. Who do you think he's going to give a federal contract to? Two, how are you going to feel when the one that did do it, let's say Coke did it, they went along, and then they tell their staff to do it. So you're a Coke truck driver. You didn't vote for Trump. You hate Trump, but he tells your company they have to do it. Then even worse, go 1 degree separate. You're a vendor that works with Coke, and they say, well, no, we have to have a mandate, so therefore you have to have a mandate to keep us. This is exactly the culture that we're creating. Am I not right?
You're right.
Yeah. It's making my head hurt, man. I really am just in shock and there's not anyone that's interested. Like Bob and I were talking about the new study in Israel. We were talking about some of the data on this show. We've talked about the low death toll. No, death toll is not even the conversation anymore, because I keep asking, what is the limiting factor? What is it we're doing? Are we trying to not get people killed? At this point, I feel like we're living in a fantasy land where we're going to try to say, well, we don't want anyone to get sick. It's like a virus. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. It's a flu shot. It's become, we called it a vaccine. And maybe that's the problem, is people are associated with a cure and not a symptom mitigator, which is basically what it is. Bob, what do you think?
No, I think you're right on target. Yeah.
We have to disagree more. I don't understand what to do here. We're all people like in the first part of the show, folks. We have to get to something else that's just more obnoxious. Maybe that's what we should do.
Hey, we're News Talk with Brandon and Bob. We're here to tell you about some of the facts so you don't have to waste your time watching CNN.
We don't want you wasting any time with CNN.
Or Fox or MSNBC or some of these other guys that are making a whole lot of money.
Et cetera, et cetera.
It's not paying.